Hi, this is Bookish Talk, the shorter version of iBookBinding's podcast, and today we return to Angaea Cuna, a book artist from Hawaii. So let's just move forward.
Will you show us your workshop?
Can you show us around somehow? What?
Yeah. Because my studio doesn't have very great lighting. Because in the daytime, it's super bright. And you can see the jungle back there. This is one table space. This is from Olive and Oak.
I can barely see it, I have to say. Stepan,
I know this press, so yeah, you can definitely find some pictures online, Pavel. It's a known model and a beautiful beast.
This is my handmade sewing frame.
Okay, that's nice.
What are those bones? Are those horses again?
Oh, this is a cow bone. Yeah. Oh, and this is a pig. Its teeth.
Do you use teeth too?
Yeah, it has teeth too. Yeah, this is my studio. It's just about a bunch of found furniture. And there's no system. I'll just be on one table, gotta do the next step. I'll just pick the floor some days.
Well, this is great when you can work in different stations and depending on your current mood.
It's a lot better than my living room on the floor with my cat.
And where do you make your paper? Because that needs water and pulp goes everywhere. Do you make it in the very same space?
No, I make paper outside. So this is my studio, and it's on a coffee farm that my friends own. But when I make paper, I make it at a different farm where I live. It's a fruit farm. And so there's just a lot more space, and you could just get messy with the water, and all the pulp gets really messy. So I don't do it in here at all.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more sunlight as well. That's how I dry the paper, it's just by sunlight. So my studio is at 1,600 feet elevation. So there's not a lot of sun. It's just a shorter period of time in the day where there's sun. And then I live around 900 feet elevation where it's hotter and more sun.
This is perks of living in a warm climate.
Yeah, it's too hot today though. Like the mosquitoes are getting me.
Well, it seems that it's hot everywhere besides Paris and Versailles, because I saw a forecast for Moscow with something like plus 35, 40 centigrade or something like that in Moscow. I don't know what's that in Fahrenheit.
100 degrees Fahrenheit.
105 or even more or something like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
So, I don't know if you guys got to go right now, but my studio is in back of the roaster.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that's a coffee roaster.
Yeah.
But it's too dark to see anything right now.
And could you show us that paper press you mentioned, or is it on the other farm?
No, I don't have a paper press. I have a book press.
Yeah.
No. You told us you used volcanic rocks as a press.
That's at home.
That's a different location.
Yeah, because I've been utilizing this one to
Yeah.
press books together now, but before it was rocks.
And do you yourself feel more comfortable working in the more makeshift manner, like what you find you use, or do you enjoy precise processes using specialized equipment? What?
I think I enjoy the creative resourcefulness part, actually, which is hilarious because I'm at this point where I bought like a $3,000 book press, and now I just want to go out in the jungle and just use rocks. Because before I had a studio, I used to take my tools to the beach or, outside and just make do with what I had.
During the first part of our talk, you mentioned that you want to experiment with building some unusual book, maybe with some bamboo elements or something like that. And my first idea was not first idea, but first link sort of that appeared to me was to palm leaf books that are traditional in some regions of Asia, and I have absolutely no idea if you can make something similar with I don't know, slices of bamboo or something like that. But
Palm leaf books?
yeah,
Is that what you
palm leaf books. Yeah, it's
did weave it?
yeah. So they use palm leaves, and these books have this sort of elongated shape, and they would write on the palm leaves either with ink or they will use stylo just to make impressions in the palm leaf, and well, I guess you can slice bamboo in thin sheets like paper and try to to create some impressions on these sheets, but I don't know if it can work, if that would work.
I know the main problem with them, that the way they bind them is like like a modern organizer. So
Yeah.
you get those loops, and they are on it, and that's not a very durable arrangement. I mean, leaves on something like a wire, well, not a wire, but something that can easily break. And yeah, but they do look amazing. I visited an ancient Eastern literature section of the Moscow Library, and they have Indian and Bangladeshi palm leaf books, and they look like, I don't know, like nobody created this paper. Like it's all very natural, very organic look to it.
Wait, I want to write this down.
Yeah, I think somewhere maybe I'm not sure. I think on Sri Lanka they made a lot of effort recently to digitize lots of these manuscripts, because otherwise they can be lost because of their endangered state and their condition, and of course, some of these manuscripts are popular on the world market, and that also one of the reasons why they may be endangered. But at least I think they have some sort of digitized collection now, so you can see them online maybe.
And I'm pretty sure I've seen a video course, or at least some kind of educational video on the process in English. So people are interested in the structure, mostly because of how it looks. I'm not sure about the functional bit though. They do look very brittle. I'd be afraid to use it, but maybe you can think of some kind of modification.
Yeah, I'll make a video and share it with you guys if I succeed.
Okay, perfect.
So, speaking of videos, could you tell us about the videos you make currently?
Videos I make.
I may be wrong, but I think you've made you have a separate channel, not about.
Oh yeah, you found that? Yeah, I actually had two artist websites. One was just bookbinding, and then the other was all my other art, including video. And I love film, but not like Hollywood, just like using video as a medium. And they're usually just incredibly abstract. So it's just one of my hobbies. And I get to incorporate it sometimes when I'm documenting my books. I mean, did you have a particular question about one of the videos?
No. I was wondering about the process and about where you want to take it next. Is it just a hobby, or maybe documenting a book could be a project in itself that could be taken on the next level?
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, whenever I get the chance to mix different mediums together, like my very first book was photography, fashion, writing, poetry. And then I got to, I didn't show you, but all the way at the end, I was into fashion for a while, and I wanted to be a fashion designer. And then I hated the community, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, anytime I get to use my camera to create beautiful shots, it's just like moving photography. It's like composition is what I love about film. And then weaving it together to create a dialogue. And sometimes, most of the time, I don't use dialogue. I just use visual dialogue to tell a story, like how I tell my books with material. And I guess that's the process of my video stuff. Yeah, I deleted my old artist website, so I wasn't sure what you were talking about at first. I forget I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, we try to do our research.
Yeah.
So if we return to your teaching experience, can you talk a bit about that, and who is your audience, and did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, it was my first time teaching, and I was teaching children from 9 to 12, and I was really scared because
I can relate.
Yeah, it's a little scary there. And it's a lot more responsibility. And I've never been a disciplinarian before. So that was actually the hardest challenge for me, was disciplining, to yell at them when they're being bad. But the leading question for my sessions was how to be a good ancestor. So the children explored that with their art process. So, making art that isn't harmful. Is it biodegradable? Does it mean something to you? Can it relate to other people? What materials are you going to use? Are you going to borrow things from nature? Can you put it back? How much can you take? All these questions, right? And then this idea that even though we are in present time, you are an ancestor for the future generations. What would you like to leave gifts for them? So one of them would be creating or preserving, the island, the landscape, or creating art that's going to test time and give it some age, and as an example of the yesteryears. So they were really excited. Some of them didn't care what I said. It kind of just went over their head because they just wanted to touch water and pulp. And you know, that was still a lot of fun because paper making is so visceral. Yeah, I mean, my kids are just incredibly intelligent and really rowdy. Apparently, I had the rowdiest class like ever. And anyway, yeah, so we made paper, and then bookbinding was even harder for them because it's a spatial challenge. So when you're weaving, you kind of have to see it in 3D in your head and kind of know the pattern and the repetition. And so I had guides for them, but that was still kind of hard. So I had to sit with each student and show them and have them watch me. And if they were on the opposite side of the table, it never worked. They had to be right next to me.
How many kids did you have in your class?
I had 13.
Wow,
13 kids.
that's too much. I found out that it hard way that when there are more than 10 adults in a class, it's too much, and you need some help, and you need another person who will help you with teaching. But when there are more than, I think, 6 kids, you already need help.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, it was challenging to be. I had volunteers, I had helpers help me out, but you know, I'd have to reiterate what I want them to do to the volunteer. So it's just like an extra person to tell someone to. So it's like 14 students, for example. But the last week, yeah.
Do you prefer to work with the younger kids or with the older kids? And what do you get from them?
I feel like I'm a kid at heart sometimes. So I when they talk about movies or music, I can kind of relate to them because I'm one of the younger teachers in the program. With the younger, I'm also sometimes I have a very crass mouth, so I have to watch myself. And the kids appreciate it sometimes. You know, they're like, oh, you can't say that around or whatever. You know, they tease me, so it's a lot of fun. But then I feel really, really guilty with the younger kids if I did that. And I feel a lot more protective. Like I don't trust them with my artist knife or with a needle. You know, with the bigger kids, I really like the fact that I can have a conversation with them and be like, I'm letting you use my knife. That's a lot of responsibility I'm handing over to you. So if I see this knife in somebody else's hands, I know you gave it to them and I didn't give you consent. They're like, okay, this means a lot, you know, they get it. So that's what I really like about working with the older kids.
It's interesting that you mentioned that you were afraid before the first class, because it completely I had completely same experience. But I've been teaching bookbinding for several years for adults, and then I was invited to teach a class for kids, a series of classes, sort of Sunday school of book arts, and I was absolutely afraid, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I was sure that they will eat me alive, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to, to make them listen to me and to interest them in all that stuff. But it was so amazing in the end, and I think. It was almost a year or something I've been teaching this Sunday class, and in the end I understood that kids are much better students than adults. So I had much more problems with adults not listening to me, not following my advice, recommendation, because they know better how to do the things, especially, if that's older adults, like the age of our parents or something.
Yeah.
They know better than some youngster who is trying to, you know, tell them how to do things properly.
Oh,
But
wow.
the other thing you mentioned with the knives and stuff, and this is these corner cutting jigs for making book covers. This is something that I started to make exactly when I started teaching this class with kids, because I was just afraid they will cut off their fingers when
Oh,
making books. So I decided to make something, some protective jig that will allow them, you know, not to cut over their fingers.
oh yeah. Oh, that's really clever.
Yeah.
I had to pre-cut the Davy board for them
Yeah.
for class.
Yeah. That's a frightening moment when they are cutting stuff with hobby knives.
Right there.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a great experience, and I'm a bit sad that I don't have a chance to teach anymore, but maybe in the future.
Oh, is it because of the pandemic?
No, we moved from Russia to the Netherlands several years ago, and it's just I didn't have an opportunity and time to do any teaching because of I spend all my time working on my business now, and now we moved to France, and we need to settle in, and I spend all the time on that, and to teach somebody in France, you need to know to speak French.
Right.
That's a bit of an issue for me because I only started to learn French, and I'm definitely far away from a moment when I will be able to you know, to teach in French language. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I think you should totally return to it. I always remember the words of a colleague who's also a teacher, and I was asking him, well, did he come to it, and why is he still working, because it's not the highest paid job in the world. And he says that every time he teaches kids, he's reminded how much better they are than adults. I don't really like adults, he says. And in some respects, of course, he's right. It's so much easier to talk to a child. I mean, if he doesn't understand, he'll tell you. If he doesn't like something, he'll tell you. And they're always, if you can interest them in the process, they're all in. I mean, nothing exists but this one process, one moment. I really like this about them.
Yeah, they are really honest. Like, Auntie Angaea, what kind of music do you like? Do you like old music? And I was like, oh, I love music. Like, oh, I thought you were cool. Like, what? Jazz is cool. They start gagging. How can you not like jazz?
So, do you have any plans for the classes in the nearest future, or in the future in general?
So, so my last week in the program, I taught bioarchitecture, and I showed them different kinds of homes built around the world, made from natural materials, from locally sourced materials at different climates and different elevations, to inspire the kids to look locally, you know. And so we made these smaller dioramas of their future bio homes. So we harvested, because the art center is surrounded by a jungle. And so I had them pick up twigs and branches, leaves, banana leaves, whatever, glue sticks or hot glue guns, and teaching them how to weave and yada, yada, yada. And it was a lot of fun and just chaotic inspiration everywhere. And it was, you know, it was fun because I wanted to do it. And so I got to do it with the kids. So if someone said, I want to make a hobbit house, I'd sit down with them, sketch it out, like, okay, how should we start? What's the engineering? How is it going to look organic? Some people wanted to make bamboo houses, so I collected a bunch of bamboo from the farm and brought it to the center. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. My mistake was I got too excited with them. I had this presentation and I told them what we were gonna do, and they all just started screaming, "Yeah, can I make this? Can I make that? Yeah, yeah, yeah." And then they start getting up and they start getting materials, and I'm just like, "Sit down, we're gonna do this together." And they just wanted to just do it. And it made me a little frazzled, and they kind of swayed me, and we just, so all of a sudden, we're in studio time. I should have done is teach them different techniques, like even a week before, like a whole week of just teaching them building techniques, like weaving and, you know, like building blocks that could just fit together, like furniture and stuff, and then have them do it on their own when it was time to create their bio homes. Instead, it was the complete opposite. It was like every 5 minutes, it was like, "Miss Angaea, Auntie Angaea, I need your help. What do I do? What's this?" Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it was also very chaotic.
Well, it's a great experience in any way.
Yeah. So the goal was every person makes a house or whatever, and then we'll put it together and it becomes this like village. So when they were done, they wanted to play with it and wanted to take it home, but it's going to be in the art show that's coming out next week. So that's what I want to do.
And around the world, they do build like big house type structures entirely by hand, like they weave houses like you would a giant basket, that kind of thing. Was that the technique you were using? So
one of the techniques, yeah. Yeah. Like massive basket weaving or just using clay. And then with like bamboo, you could actually make like Legos, you know, you make them fit together. So that's what we were doing, exploring all those techniques.
Are there any techniques traditional for Hawaii?
That's kind of, so they're usually like this with no walls. It's just like an A-frame. And then they use palm leaves as the roofing. So it's like wood, bamboo, and then the palm roofing. So it's like layers. So that's how they were living. Some of them lived in caves as well, in the volcanic tunnels. But that didn't last very long. Ever since Hawaii was colonized, a lot of the Hawaiian traditional houses are gone. And also from volcanic activity as well. So there's not a lot of research on it.
You mentioned that it's important to keep in mind that we're ancestors of people who will live in the future, and that there should be this connection to the nature, ground, and traditions, and that you should keep in mind that there is something you need to pass on to the future, and that you need to, you know, make sure that there exists any future for our ancestors. And unfortunately, some people prefer not to think about it and to live like there is no future, there are no life for the kids and I don't know, grandchildren. But the other thing that this thing reminded me of is some discussions that we had with book conservators on our podcast, because it seems that in the past few years, book conservation changed even more to using less invasive materials and chemicals and adhesives and all that stuff in the first place. And then this is just how the the attitude of many book conservators is, that you're making an object that will be interacted with for many decades and maybe for 200 years. And you are working on this object, keeping in mind the person who will work with it in 200 years or something like that. So this is interesting how this, traditional approach can sort of mate with with this scientific approach of book conservators.
Yeah. That makes me think of like mummies, like mummifying corpses with honey and like beeswax and other stuff they were using, like all natural materials, compared to what we do to corpses now with embalming fluids and chemicals and, you know, prosthetic teeth and all that stuff going into the earth.
Russian people do not have to go far to get an example with Lenin's body still laying on the Red Square in the very center of Moscow. So but a lot of chemicals and not much of his body left there.
There is actually a company in the US officially mummifying clients, so you can get mummified now. Even there is even some kind of premium service using only organic materials, but that I don't quite believe. But I like the idea. I mean, imagine your grandkids coming to touch your black finger. You know how kids just can't stay off mummies. So the best way to ensure your distant descendants.
And keep pulling it.
So I actually touched a mummy in not in Egypt, but in Kiev of all places. There is an old monastery which has an underground part in the caves, 1,000-year-old caves, and there are bodies of monks preserved in small niches, like imagine Rome's catacombs, but still filled with people who are still venerated, and it's a really strange place. Hundreds of people slowly going through underground tunnels, and from time to time touching a person from hundreds and hundreds years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, Christianity can be weird too.
Okay, can be. Well, that's a statement. Like that's the only thing in Christianity that's weird. Okay.
I mean, to most other things we just got used to, but every now and then you see something so raw, so I don't know, it seems prehistoric, something you'd associate with pagans, but actually it's a valid way of expressing your own veneration of your ancestors, either genetic or spiritual. I mean, people all over the world preserve important people. Don't just bury them. Or so why not? I'm fascinating by it. A bit creeped out, obviously, but I can respect that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like art and science collaborations with burials. So there's mushroom growth. There's this thing called mycelium. So I forget the artist's name, but she had invented a mycelium suit that you wear when you're buried in the ground, so it can help decompose your body. And you know, in a vacuum, it's ideally, it's what should happen, but with like the food that we eat, the pollution and surgeries and, you know, teeth fillings for cavities, that's all toxic to the environment. So it's just such a hard thing to control. Actually, not to put a really dark damper on this podcast, but during the pandemic, I shouldn't laugh, that's not funny. In Los Angeles, there was a dangerous high rise of pollution because of all the cremations of the people who passed away during the pandemic. And that also happened because they were running out of space in the morgue. All my older siblings are nurses, so they were just telling me they had to like cremate, or they had to rent out a whole trailer for an extra morgue because their morgue in the hospital was too crowded. Also, I don't know how we got to this subject.
Well, it's life.
Well,
What can we do? And now it's really a part of our lives. And yeah, I think there is almost no person on this planet who is not touched by this pandemic. So, well,
I think if there is a silver lining to this, is that people no longer can shove away those thoughts about death, and perhaps with normalization comes I don't know. It shouldn't be as difficult as it is if the society is built around as a support system for the family. It shouldn't be as difficult, and certainly rituals help, and talking about it helps. So I think especially for the Western society, where we tended to not to look at this part of life, it will be therapeutic in some general sense.
yeah.
I mean, look at us. We can talk about it. That's new. That's new. It came about, and it's with us now.
Yeah. Yeah. Another. I mean. Yeah. No. Yeah.
I, by the way, am not surprised that we got to this topic. You have this strange balance in you of childish joy and sudden moments of darkness. I like how it goes. Like you show us this exquisite book, and then you talk about how it feels to walk over the hard ground, and I imagine.
Yeah.
I mean.
I think it's the effect of living here. Everything feels very balanced with life and death, especially in the jungle, especially on a farm. Yeah. And other animals, you know, things decompose all the time, and mushrooms come out, mushrooms die, birds eat it, birds die, because my cats eat them.
Yeah. I don't know about Pavel. He seems very connected with nature and death and everything like that, especially during the archaeological works. I'm definitely much more disconnected from all this stuff, living in the city, and only having a chance to get in touch with this reality when we have some interesting guests. So thank you for that.
It's also spooky. It's nighttime over here.
Yeah. Good time for that. Well, I guess it's time for us to wrap up. Pavel,
maybe you have something else to add, Angaea? Is there anything you'd like to discuss or tell about some project of yours?
I did mention some new projects earlier in the interview, but today before our podcast, I woke up at 5 a.m., got ready for work to work on a coffee farm. I had to prune a bunch of lilac koi vines, which is passion fruit. I was on a 12-foot ladder. A wasp came out and stung my face. Jumped from the ladder. I had a handsaw and I cut my fingers. And then I got back to the farmhouse and ran up the stairs and fell pretty badly. And yeah, and then I just tried to heal myself with some beer and wine. So.
And you mentioned this only now, after took all this time to discuss all these random things. Well,
that's the last thing I'd like to share.
So the life goes on, especially with some beer and wine.
Yeah. Kona brew.
I guess being surrounded by jungles helps too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love being out here. I don't know why all that happened today. I don't know why. It's not always like that.
Yeah, I hope you will get better soon.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Well, that was a great talk. Thank you very much for.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
For everything, and I definitely want to see some samples of this paper you are going to make when it finally brewed and fermented perfectly and ready for paper making. So maybe we will ask you to arrange a call with us to schedule a call with us when it's ready. So. We'll see how it goes, and good luck with your future projects. I hope to see a lot of new ideas from you and new bindings and new experiments, and I'm sure you will invent a lot of stuff and then make a lot of interesting stuff. As usual, thanks a lot to our supporters on Patreon and to all of our community. Please check the links below to see Angaea's projects and to support us on Patreon with a bit of your money. The money goes towards editing of these videos, and your support is very important to us. Please share, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and stay with us. We have a lot of interesting stuff going on and coming to our channel. So see you soon. Thanks again, Angaea.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.